My name is General BAKWENA Thekiso. I am a great-grandson of Kgoshi ya morafe wa Baphogole, Daniel Thekiso, who was born by KOKOSI, the one who gave birth to Sebokgodi, who were attacked by Mzilikazi in the 1800s. Very lucky because I am only 5 generations from the later king KOKOSI to us. So our history is not that much far. Representing the tribe, our tribe is BAKWENA ba Mare-A-Phogole. So I am a paramount chief. It is my birthright as the heir apparent to the throne of my forefather. So as an heir to the throne of BAKWENA is a very, it is confusing when you want to know about the BAKWENA tribe. But today I'm going to advance a little bit about understanding where BAKWENA comes from.
Yes.
Any Mokwena who says is not coming from the Batswana tribe, that Mokwena is a liar. On the basis that all the BAKWENA tribes are coming from Rakwena, in Ratateng, in Zerast, Lefurutsi, Kolekubu, where the great king of the Batswana tribe is actually coming from. Because out of his own clan, he produced almost all the tribes of the Batswana, Batlaping, Bafokeng, Baputing, all the tribes that you can think of are coming from the Rakwena lineage either way. So that is why BAKWENA is one of the biggest tribe in Southern Africa. So as history happened in the 1800s, around 1826, when tribes were starting to split and a lot of divisions started happening on our land, that's when we started seeing a lot of growth of a lot of tribes, even including some of our people live in the area. If you would really be shocked to understand the history of the BAKWENA and the land that they occupied as their forefathers' land, I'm not referring to Phokeng is a new thing. Phokeng is a new thing.
What do you mean? Because we are quite ignorant, even of the Tswana people, where Ikalagupi, all of it.
Okay, the Rakwena clan, you would understand that there are clans in the Batswana tribe. So on breaking down all those clans to be understood the way they are, you will have the Batlaping who are found in the Taung area in the northwest, close to Kimberley. And then you find the other group of the Razie who are in Rustenburg. There's a tribe, but because of the land disposition and other things, other tribes were migrating from the other to move to the land that is not theirs. So to understand the jurisdiction of the land that Rakwena gave to the BAKWENA tribe, it was the jurisdiction of 3,000 diameters. So that is a symbol of, according to the map that we have and the burial ground that we have in the land. Our jurisdiction stretches from Tabanto to Hittelberg, from Hittelberg to Mogale Mountain. Just on top of Mogale Mountain, just on top, when you go up on top, that's where we are down, and then Kgoshi Mogale is up above us, but we share the jurisdiction with Kgoshi Mogale. The other jurisdiction that is so familiar is the Crocodile River, because when you pass Alexandra, this side of Alexander, that's the Rakwena land. This side of of Alexander, going to Pretoria side, it belongs to Kgoshi Mogale. That's the history in the 1800s, how it was supposed to be. BAKWENA didn't migrate to this land. When Rakwena gave his children this land. He gave them because he wanted to expand his tribe. It happened, all those things, in the year 1400 when this tribe was born. Then there were born 2 children in the family, which was Rakwena and Mufuruti. So to understand that the head of the family is Rakwena. And then the wife, from the wife's family, which is royalty, is Bafuruti. So they were then when the dispute started, is when Rakwena had to migrate from Bafuruti land, according to his father's instruction, to move to his forefathers' land in the Hittelberg area. Going down, that is why you find the Kweneng capital in Gauteng, because Gauteng actually was the land that was dispossessed, not 2 times, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, but we had 16 attacks as the tribe, from not only tribes, white people who were accelerating the idea in the minds of other tribes to exclude us from the land, because we were occupying the richest land in the entire country at that time when their survey was showing them. I will be honest with you, if you go and check the title deed laws, they happened when there was no law. It's a law that happened when there was no law on the land. So it can't be a law that even today we still worships it, while yet the law still dispossesses us of our allodial title of the land. People must occupy the land everywhere they want. It is a good thing to do, because it's their forefathers' land. It is a good thing to do. But the question that I always ask myself is, as the Rakwena tribe, is, will our people, when they are given this land, what else are they going to be given? Because they are pre-excluded on everything that exists. And that was done because of the laws that governs us. And I'm going to dwell deeper into that, because we as the elders, we are very vigilant when it comes to the laws of the land and laws of the sea. And by the way, I forgot to mention this, I'm a free man. I've emancipated myself from the system. I have no identity system that I recognize. I recognize the idea that my tribe is busy fixing up and preparing. And we are going to declare everyone sovereign in this land of our forefathers. Because they forget one thing. They thought that the tribe has died completely, particularly the royal family that has the claim. Because not everyone has that claim. You can claim and you will get compensated, or you'll be given the land through the Land Restitution Act, which is they call the CPA, Communal Property Association Act. Then they govern all the tribal authorities or the tribal communities, meaning that they are reducing them from what they were to something that they are not through those acts. So I am not an actor. That is my problem with the laws of this land. The law of this land, people are acting, because immediately when you leave that gate and you go out and you see a gold and you pick it up, you are guilty of a certain crime. You must disclose that, and you must also actually invite the Department of Minerals. Fine and good is well. But where is the rights of the indigenous people of this land? Where is those rights? So the rights of living during the Iron Age, Old Age. By the way, my tribe was one of the tribes that was creating the spears, because we were one of the greatest fighters just here in Carltonville, on top of that mountain where they found during the Iron Age, Old Age, where they found rocks, iron rocks. It is history. Our grandfather were cooking the steel to make those weapons. That is history that many of our people are dispossessed to know the honest truth about Gauteng. We are told that it is a land of no man. But there's a tribe and there's a kingdom. That part of this province, actually allodial title, and I'm going to go back to that allodial so that I can explain to our people to understand what is the allodial title. You can remove me from the land, but you can't remove my birthright from the land. The allodial title is the title that holds the land, the original title of the land. We're not talking about what you've got. All of you, you've got the crown title. All that you have is the crown title. They belong to the queen. Either way, you can check your title deed. You do not own a certain meters going down, or have even your rights to minerals are pre-excluded on the title of any land that they surveyed without our consent. Fine, it was the times of the hard times where our ancestors and our forefathers were trying so hard to negotiate. Where did the problem then begin? And my history is so vast that towards 1895, the late Pixley was involved in the case of the Bakwena tribe for their forced removal from Gauteng. But today, the governing party acts as if they don't know that Pixley Kaseme was part of this claim, was a lawyer on this case. And then he then advised the tribe that, hey, you know what, these people are going to finish you guys. Because you would understand that we fighting the generational war for only one thing, to be pre-excluded from what rightfully belongs to us. And you know, previously I said to explain why I say Bafokeng and Pokeng is a very small land. They are actually even beneficiaries in this land either way, by birth, not by default, by birth. Because their parents, their mothers, their wives are coming from us either way. We married and we had to do intermarried with other tribes. That is how the royal families have been keeping the secret of how do they keep royalty within the families. So now, Pokeng, it is a land that is very rich, and which I do not want to go into details. How did Bafokeng survive and many tribes did not, and why Bafokeng is one of the richest tribes in South Africa today, even pre-1994. Why? All those things we will have to end up discussing them as the nation to understand the history of the land, that somewhere, somehow, other tribes were working very closely like what is happening now. Majority of the recognized chiefs in this land are the same as the ones who were recognized by white people to frustrate the development. And I will tell you the war that we are fighting, a cold war. We're fighting against our minerals. That is why we are excluded, and we are actors. We act according to their law. And we do not understand that why there's Oranje and why there's all these things. If we can understand and emancipate the whole South Africa, it doesn't take much. How many voters do we have? 18, 16 million? We check how many people who voted. And then we don't care about the ones who are, we disregard the ones who are already registered on the voters roll, because they also take a decision without us. They're taking a decision without us. Then we form the people's government. When we talk about the people's government, we are not talking about removing those 400 elected idiots. It's not our mission to do that. But we are saying the kings and the chiefs in this land are the most people who are supposed to be giving guidance and be the ones who are monitoring the transactions of the minerals and the land, because this belongs to them. Because we talk about United South Africa, then let's form the Council of Elders that will constitute with only the chiefs and the kings, who are actually the custodians of the land, and the stewards of the land must do their job. Now they can't do their job because politicians have stopped the progress of the people of South Africa, because we are in the Cold War, minerals extraction. You're talking cold, believe you me, in South Africa I can tell you today, we have no one mineral bank that is owned by the government to protect the assets of the people for the future generations of our children. The issues that we are raising as tribes and kingdoms, even when media houses can shut us out of the conversations, but the reality remains that the issues that our people actually are crying for is only one: to make sure that they are included in their own economy, not even included by default like now. We are included through the BEE. You expect me to compete with someone who has been in business from God knows how much that he stole from the people of this land, and how many people he enslaved to be that rich. In 1994, when they were doing, because their law is not based on correcting the wrongs. Their law is not based on restorative. So what we are coming with as the elders is to say, no, we want the restorative law. The restorative law deals with what you did and you get punished according to what we the people have said. Because the word we the people that we found in the Freedom Charter was just a word that was used to get or push us on their side, irrespective of any other thing that anyone can say. So exclude you from the economy. And by the way, very important, and when I'm discussing about the economy, why my surname is Thekiso, because you should remember that we have no surnames in Africa. We have the roots in Africa. A father of the house becomes the head of the house. That's how we used to call each other, according to the name of the father. So my great-grandfather is the sharecropper in Johannesburg, the oldest sharecropper in Johannesburg, who was dispossessed in 1910. In 1901, I mean to say, to correct myself. In 1901, when they started introducing the taxes, forced mandatory taxes and other things, they then took away those rights of the tribes to trade among themselves. They then dispossessed us, the very important thing that does. And I always ask myself, why do you allow for a foreigner to feed your own people? Because he can feed them poison. And it's happening, and it has been happening for years, that our children are being fed GMO, our children are being fed a lot of chemicals that are making their nervous system to be low, their thinking capacity to be weak, and our children are no longer eating the original African beans. And which, in the study, they even tell you, these researchers, and scientists, that beans are the very most important product that you need to at least consume once or twice or 3 times in a month, because you'll never get sick after that. It releases the gases in your stomach, it refreshes your memories and other things. So the natural components that comes with the food that our ancestors were feeding their own children, that is why we had the generations and generations that we are coming from were strong, were able to make decisions on their own. We're not going to be told lies by all these old men or these timers. And we do not fight them. We want them to continue doing the business of parliament. But the only thing that we need as the people is our word must also be final. It can't be only during election time where we're going to be human beings. But after the elections, we are the sheep that are now following what is called the law, that is created for those particular reasons, to frustrate you as an African, not to strive in this economy alone, but you need to share with the whole world. Yet the Constitution says, the Freedom Charter actually puts it clear that the people shall share in the country's wealth. We haven't achieved those dreams. The RDP document that was neglected before they adopted all these other documents coming this side is still not addressed, because it deals with the redress when it comes to the issue of the land. Not that constitution that was adopted in Washington, D.C. in 1995 after we voted. When white people in this country were given the opportunity to say yes or no about the elections in 1993, but black people in this land have never been given the opportunity to hold a referendum to be able to say their dissatisfaction. So irrespective of anything that you do, the drivers of this idea and the ideology is Johan Rupert's and all these Oppenheimers and the entire white monopoly capital. Because there are people who need to advance. For tenders to be advertised, the building materials are going to make money. So it is not only the tenderpreneurs who are colonizing or who are corrupting this thing, but including the businesses are taking control, even on this GNU, I see no success as a traditional leader. One, you know, the ideas is something. If our ideas do not balance, it means that we can't share the same vision or we can't move the same direction. So it's a relationship of anger. The country at this moment is going to be run at the mercy of someone else. If someone else doesn't want to vote in parliament, the lives of the South Africans will remain dead, because the principles are not the same. The other one would say expropriation of land, but the other one will definitely say no. The other one would say we need to nationalize the Reserve Bank, but the other one doesn't believe that the Reserve Bank needs to be nationalized. So those are the only two key components that I still feel that the country has lost it, and it's not a matter of a relationship. It's a matter of those who received the votes to accept what has happened. Then we go into voting inside parliament, because now, do they say we the people also, those who didn't vote or who are not voters in this land, who are still under our tribes and kingdom, must declare ourselves as a government of national unity? It's still the same. It's like a relationship that was met without the views or the knowing if the people of South Africa, what can they do in dealing with this situation. So very important, South Africa needs a referendum. And that referendum, when it sits, it must be a black-only referendum. And then the second referendum that we are going to have is the joint referendum. And if we are doing that, we'll still be walking on the same foot of our forefathers, trying to destabilize the system that was very created to do that. And as black people, as natives, we need to understand the importance. And I'm not going to forget that we still have the Khoi and San people on this land. But very important issues that we still need to discuss is the issue of kingship. There is no king in the Khoi tribe. You will never find one. Because why there's no king in the Khoi tribe? Because San has a woman who is the leader of the San people. Only the Khoi had the chief, one chief for all the Khoi tribes. So the truth needs to prevail at some point. And we need to be asked questions so that we can explain as traditional leaders. If you think that the other leader, what he says is truth, you go to the next one and you ask. And the advice is always there and available, because as the elders, we are sitting almost every week on Zoom meetings to update South Africans about the developments that we are doing as the South African Council of Elders. Because you would understand that we moved from the Union of South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, South Africa Republic, and many of them. So the importance that we are bringing the conversation to emancipation.
Even, you know, when you speak about the union and the republic, these are all terms that, what's union or republic as it's? Okay,
what they did, the union, Morafi Haukopan is a union, you may interpret it in that way. But in the Latin languages, it says a different thing, which I am not ready to go to dictionaries. But it will time will come where we will explain why at this moment we are even fighting for words to change, because they're using words to get you to conform and confine on a certain mission that they want to achieve. That is why when a police officer stops you, when they want to arrest you, they would even go to an extent where you must sign a consent form. When they charge you, they will even say you refuse to sign. That counts actually on your behalf. Because immediately when you conform, you confine to everything, even when the laws are wrong, and you subscribe into them, you are the perpetuator, because you are protecting the same law that has failed our people. If there's any person, you know, why I didn't vote, they are very important. I didn't vote. And many people ask me, why you didn't vote? Why are you busy removing yourself from the IEC voters roll? Why do you speak to our people to remove their names from the IEC? South Africa is incorporated, the republic. As an incorporated republic, IEC came as an arrangement to process the election. They know even what is happening there, that even some of their salaries are still controlled by the first company that ran the IEC, other than the company that belongs to the CIA. Other than one company that belongs to the CIA, they know what's happening. The arrangement of Orania and the movement of our gold and assets in the country to Orania for moving without being taxed. Those are the scandals that we know of what is happening in this land. Why the land can't be restored right now? Because they thought that for 30 years they would have mined South Africa to the best of its capacity. But now the problem is that the water is flowing from east to west through the Moya River, through all the river banks underground, and is filling up all the holes that they've digged across. And all those holes, as they dig it, they move with they cleaning properly the slide and filling it up again on the holes. You must never be told that the mine is closed. If it's closed, they must close the hole that Zamazamas are entering on to steal the wealth of the country. You understand where the problem comes from. If you open that, if you close that hole, you are simply now going to give yourself a problem in the next coming 20 years when you have to reopen the mine because it's filled to the capacity with gold. And you need to go down and now start cleaning the trenches. I was passing through FNB, and I want everyone to look when they're passing through FNB. Always they are cleaning the soil there, or where there's a slime there. Those people are still mining either way, because they take in that soil as the rain moves and the slow piece it builds, that gold still moves as well. That is sitting and is still inside the trenches and the rocks. It moves to the surface. They're mining it nicely as if they are cleaning that area. And they take in the same material, run it through the screen plant. There was no way a miner can run a screening plant that he loses diesel and everything. So how much are they getting there? Is it disclosed? A number of things happening on the lands of the people, but the people are quiet. They do not do post-mortem of what is happening. Now all of a sudden in 1995 we put the claim of the Joburg South before we integrated the whole claim. There's development that happened before, after 1995, when the land claim was there. Why? They didn't entertain the claim so that the developments can continue, so that they can frustrate the claim. Because the claimants who are sitting in the suburbs must start also to understand they are sitting on top of unmined ground. That is still, most of them still going to be mined in the very close future. It's facts, it's history, it is there, because the first thing that you do is to check the geological map of where you are living to understand what is happening. So the whole country is into shambles when it comes to mining production, land restitution, because those are the two things that are fighting with us. Who started the war in South Africa? The mines. Who supplied the war in South Africa? The mines. Who supported the brutal police system in South Africa? The mines. But all of them are still holding licenses in South Africa. They just changed the color, the name, and put this one, the chief from Africa, your president who has inaugurated the son in the chief during COVID. When the country is crying, is busy being son in the chief. Why? They are honoring him for fulfilling the promise that South African mineral will be exploited twice. Go and check the agreements, good people. The treaty agreements that South African government had before 1994. The labor migration that happened, and the issuing of identity documents in South Africa, that happened from 1993 to 1995. That everyone who was even brought, majority of them, through the Labor Migration Act to come and work in the mines, They got the IDs. So we have a problem as tribes and kingdoms that we have to fix our land, but we can't fix our land when there's still people who still wear the same shirt as us and still speak like us, but yet they do not enjoy the allodial title of the land. But some of them are even sitting in parliament, and they have a clear history that their ancestors are not from here. For them to live in KOKOSI or Soweto doesn't mean they are South African. For them to have an ID book doesn't mean that they are South Africans allodial title holders.
What do you mean?
They are South African citizens. South Africa is a corporate. They must then emancipate themselves to be restored, but the emancipation can't happen in the land. It can only happen through the tribes. When the tribes can restore their database and give their people identity documents and renounce this incorporated ID that gives us the problem, that makes us to lose even the rights over our children, which hurts me the most, that the government has proclaimed all the children to be theirs. I don't understand what is happening. I've never seen this thing happening, which they can't run even a basic education department. What are they going to do with the lives of our children? Because there's no parent in this world who can kill his own child unless he's bipolar or somehow, or there's any mental disturbance. But every child loves, every mother or father loves his or her own child. So the Children's Act is also one of the tools that they are using to intimidate us as the nation.
So, what are the Tswana traditional leaders up to? Like, what's their voice? Earlier on, you were speaking about Bakwena, and yes, they are so wealthy. It also would be interesting to know how they acquired their wealth, because you kind of alluded to it.
Yes, you see, the problem that we are facing is one tribe that is number 3 that claims that it is the only Bakwena tribe. But it ended up now Baswaba because history was recorded. So they took the whole fame of the name Bakwena. Meanwhile, they can't protect even that land or that totem. All of them, they were paying tax in Klepgat. Before, when they were paying it in KOKOSI, they were paying tax there. Where were they paying tax, all these tribes of the Mazwai? To BAKWENA BA MARE-A-PHOGOLE. That is why the Baklapin battle for tax, the endless battle that actually is still being fought even today, generationally. Because BAKWENA BA MARE-A-PHOGOLE was the tax collectors of the tribe. Of all the tribes.
What does that mean?
That means that they were all living on our land, so they were paying for tax as they migrated with cattle and other things to our land because of drought in other areas. Because most of them are coming from home in Botswana, in the land that actually exchanges dryness with season. So during the rainy season on our side, they were bringing cattle this side. So some ended up cutting a very short space, small space for them, and they built in the villages. But we are quiet, because why? It was then engineered by whites. When they come and they find you on the land, they say it's yours. But I am referring each and everyone to the archives to go and check the history of the BAKWENA BA MARE-A-PHOGOLE, to sit on the internet and read about the history of BAKWENA. You will understand that why the BAPHOGOLE tribe is the most dispossessed of the BAKWENA, all the BAKWENA, because we are holding what is called the kingship of the tribe. That it is written, it was written and corrected later, as if my grandfather was nowhere, had never been a king of the clan. But then history comes when letters are found in the Bantu office, the Department of the Bantustan, where my tribe is informing them that my grandfather was not dead in the Mzilikazi battle, as was reported in the 1800s. I'm referring to letters that are coming down to 1956. When they wrote to the Bantu administration for the restoration of the kingship of the BAKWENA tribe. Then after that, we were then dispossessed of the second land that we just purchased in our land, by the way. We were purchasing the land in a hidden area called Klepgat in Vennesdorp in the middle of the mountain, because we had to move our women from Gauteng when the war started, and we moved them towards the families and other things. So we built it with the advice of Piklikas. And by the way, it's been written on the title deeds, on the deeds office info record, that Piklikas was the lawyer of the Bakwena tribe, registered the first title of the Bakwena in 1930. After the long battle, after the chief came back in 1895, when he came back from Lesotho, where he was hidden as a son, and only few people in the tribe knew that the king is still alive. The reports that the king died is not true. The great-grandson of the Rakwena is still alive. Then he was brought to the Joburg South, where he was then fully installed as a chief of the tribe. Then during that period, remember the Ferrianageng, the discoveries in Gauteng, the war, and other things just passed, and a lot of things has happened. Then it was then resolved that it's better we find another land where we can just move our women and children. Because even in Klepgat, not only women were the only people mostly living there, and very few men or the sons, the second-born sons mostly living there, because the first-born sons were motivated of the family, because the family was one of the family that was feeding the entire country, if you may put it in that way, because the entire road network that was living from Rhodosia to Gauteng just for the food, because the sharecropper was there, my grandfather. His business was kept by the tribe up until he came back, when he was killed by the whites. And today is amazing how you would listen to them interpreting the history, but they don't talk about the history of the dispossessed, the history of the people who came here first. That history is very important, because in the Joburg South we have a graveyard. In Ekurhuleni we have graveyards. In the West Rand we have graveyards. Up to Carltonville we have graveyards. Up to Tabans we have graveyards. Our proclamation in Magaliesberg Mountain we have graveyards. We have graveyards everywhere, including just here in Roodepoort on the MTN, just close to MTN there. We have a graveyard just next to MTN at the back there. We have a graveyard. That dates back to the 1800s, by the way, when our parents and the people of this land were moving freely. You know, migration is not something that we must be afraid of when someone leaves Zimbabwe and come here. Because I will tell you something. Roots and Nzilikazi kidnapped a lot of our people from this land, and they were taken to Zimbabwe. And all of those people who were kidnapped from here are coming from the Bakwena tribe. That is why you even have some calling themselves Matebele, because if you read the history of the Bakwena tribe, Matebele comes from Rakwena as well, in somehow. And moving to Matebele land and coming back, these tribes are interconnected somehow. Because when you go to Zimbabwe, I have cousins there. But I'm a key. Because they were kidnapped here, they trace their history back. Must I say, you are a Zimbabwean, you must go. But in an actual fact, that person holds one title, a allodial title, even far better than the police officer who wants to arrest there. Because you'd find that the jurisdiction of that police officer's allodial title is next to mine. When that person is here, you must ask me if you must arrest him or not.
What does allodial title mean?
Wow, very important. Allodial title is the original title of the land that your ancestors gave you. It's based on the unwritten law. Remember, there's a law that is not written, and that law is me. So you can't charge me to court with any law, because my law is unwritten, and I can argue that my law is unwritten, and what I did according to my law, I did the right thing, and I followed the law to the letter. That's the law that we need to protect, that understands you, that you understand. That is why the South African law is very complex. It's the Roman-law and Admiralty Roman-law system. Are you a Rome by any chance?
I'm not, I'm not.
And you will never be a Roman. But the laws that we must be busy fighting for is to restore our ancient ancestral laws. And then how do we protect those ancient ancestral laws? God also gave laws before and after even now. Those laws, all of them, are important, are God-given unalienable rights. Those rights can't be taken away from anyone. So any law that is done in any land cannot be in contravention with the law of God. Because the law of God is the law of nature. And nature is protected by me. Because when you see me, in our history, I'm Kokosi. Kokosi means that Koshikol. In the original history of the BAKWENA tribe. Even when you go to Ghana today, you'll find Kokosi there. Meaning Kokosi, even in Soweto, means an oldest woman who is respected in the entire community.
Really?
Yes. That's Kokosi. That is me, who I am. So I distance myself from being called a paramount chief on the basis that my great-grandfather were never called paramount chief. Were called Kokosi. So we restored the ancient ancestral stool of our ancestors, which is one of the magical and powerful ways of restoring your culture and tradition. We went as the tribe to an extent that we start recognizing traditional healers. Why? You can't be recognized by government. Government knows nothing about tradition. You must appear before the traditional court as a traditional leader and will put and will say, tell us what rain will come tomorrow, what will happen in the future, or even today. Or we hide something and test you in court if you can be able to help the people. Your Gobela will also be there to confirm that he trained you spiritually to perform those duties. And you must see it by spirit. You can't see it if you want to be admitted in accordance with spirit. You can't see it by being told where it is hidden. Because imfitlo is the law in accordance with tradition. And it was never imfitlo being performed by the person who trained you. Imfitlo was always performed by the traditional leader of that particular community. Because we didn't want fetish traditional leaders to fiddle with the tradition of our people. Look at what's happening. We have telezangomas everywhere with no idea. They can't even elaborate what is happening on the land. Because they do not enjoy the protection of their ancestors, of their own kingdom. Because their own kings have not prophesied them as traditional leaders. They must, so as traditional leaders as well, we have responsibility of going to them and informing them, inviting them to their courts to admit them according to our own culture and tradition. Our courts have been there long before Queen Elizabeth brings any court here. We had the court system in this country. We had a restorative system in this country. Far better than what they are busy doing with jails that are full because of tenders. So we are manufacturing money for people. Their court system is a simple way that their court system is manufacturing money. South African government is manufacturing money. They are printing money. How? Very simple. They're selling copies each and every day. There's no original court order that exists. So lawfully, I'm not saying legally, lawfully, because I'm now referring to the laws, the original laws of the land that are governing us. We have the interpretation of those laws. We've written our laws because we were always attacked about them not being correct. Always being challenged on who we are. You are being told by a foreigner, no, you are not Thekiso, you are Thekiso. It's not how it works. You know who you are, you know yourself. So as an African, it is your opportunity to find yourself. Get yourself first, because you lost yourself. Immediately when you lose yourself, there's no way that you can succeed in any battle that you are embarking on in life. There's no battle that you are going to fight. You'll still watch all these soapies on SABC and ETV and all these dramas. You'll never take time to read about your own tribe or your own kingdom. You'll never want to know about your own ancestors, but you are caring about knowing about Van Damme. So those are the things that we need to change from the delay. We were delayed educationally to believe that the Western education is the only education. Yet to find out an educated engineer needs helpers. Those helpers, they pick them up on the street. And they're doing that job far better than that engineer who can't even hit the spade. So there are a lot of things that the country has deviated from everything that our forefathers have built. We didn't work as Africans. Why we didn't work? Because we had work of our own. We were not slaves of another man. People must get busy so that crime can go down. When people are busy, drugs can't be consumed. When people are busy, something happens because people are busy. You know, one day, I wish God and my ancestors would give me this power and the blessing to ask every young person on a Friday to pick up 10 cans of anything that you find or trash you find on the ground. And we're making it to Clean South Africa Day, that we, the tribes and the people in the kingdom, and including the people in the townships, who are going to be working through that system. That is why we saw that our culture has been, and they are ripping it off from us. Then that is why God and the ancestors, and I thank them, in the people who are now leading the program that I gave birth to, are doing the great job in terms of putting the idea. Because I realized that we have a problem of people coming from different communities in Gauteng. And then we said, no, man, it is time that we establish a multicultural council that will allow each and everyone who comes from far and wide and close to still have a system, a court or a home, or a person that you can knock at the door and say, in accordance with tradition, I have this problem. My wife has cheated on me and I don't want to leave my wife, but I want the court to intervene. Restorative, the spirit of our South African men is down because they work 8 hours through and they come home tired, and the performance is very bad because they come home tired. Others are becoming violent at home because an African man has never been a violent person. You must never be told lies that African men are violent. No, the European men instilled the idea that it was never in our culture. We were dealing with people who could do such a thing. Because a wife was never known as a puppet of the family, was actually known as a doctor in the family. A wife. When a child has flu, when you have flu, the wife will rise and make sure that you drink this and that. And previously they were using African herbs. They knew every herb, what it is used for in the trees. But now you had to shift. Either way, you like it or not, you had to shift. You had to shift from your African and West to the Western medicine so that you can support what is called the economy. So your culture, your tradition was taken by economy away. Because even when we talk about our minerals that are being looted on a daily basis in South Africa, it's a problem. And South African miners are finding grounds, new grounds every day. Even chiefs that we are sitting with have fresh grounds. But we have one mission that we told ourselves. We are no longer going to give any company to mine our lands. We rather live on top of those minerals and be poor more on top of those minerals. Because after mining, we have no vegetation to maintain. From home in Klepgat, on the land that was restored through the restitution program, the biggest challenge that you face on mining is the land is rich on ores. All the ores are there because volcano that erupted 200 years happened in my farm and all that.
Oh.
Yes. Even the hole is still there. The rock's still shallow the way it is. on top of the mountain, right on top of the mountain. Still, Charlotte has built that. Even the lava, you see where the lava ran. The rocks are covered. My rocks are in modern different types. Because I have 3 ores. North side of my farm, I have gold. That I'm a supplier of the Ventersdorp Reef. That supplies Carletonville with gold. Without that reef, they can't get gold in Carletonville, even in the close future. Even if there can be another volcano, they can't get the expansion of gold. So history is there. It's just that we are also good in the ores like diamonds and manganese. When I came back from studying, I found that our fathers have leased the land to a white miner who was paying them 7,000 rand a month, extracting diamonds worth 300 and something thousand US dollars every day on the land. They went, when I came, he was busy, he just finalized to set up the new plant. He's going to run a new DHL plant that he's expecting to raise his production 3 times on the Moya River. My question was, why is the Moya River being mined? Do we understand the water that comes from here? It comes far and wide. Immediately when you accept mining in this community, you will pollute the entire underground stream. And my family listened to me and we stopped mining and we said, we'll live in poverty. We do not care about any other thing. We do not want to mine our land. And then the trees were starting to die. A lot of things started to happen because the mine, when they come and they want gold, they want diamonds, they bulldoze trees. They don't give a damn. So then I had to wake up and say, no, the mine needs to stop. I stopped the entire operation of the mine in my forefathers' land in Klepgat, Ventersdorp. And a lot have been asking what is happening there. Why did you kick off the mine? They left a hole as big as Kimberley. Just because your name is in the bushes is not reported as the big hole.
Sure.
They tell you that for them to close that hole is going to be nearly too impossible because it keeps on filling itself with water. But you'll never see a city being erected there, but the minerals are leaving from there. So a lot of things people need to understand that we need to now start fighting the right fights. We must stop toying, burning streets, burning tires. We must move away. Sankhana sintola moral. So as we leave it.
Yeah.
Stop voting. Let's create our new population register of honest South Africans who are willing to now join the sovereign independent South Africans who are saying enough is enough. This is nonsense. We are not going to be in a country where there's prisons and jails everywhere, where children are not safe. You kill, you get killed. That's the new motto, that we must go back to the roots. The roots says that you still will cut your fingers. You see Botswana system, it deals with restorative because the kings and the chiefs in Botswana can say something. They have something to say to government that they listen. Those 400 elected idiots will never listen to anyone. No one. I think even now it has reduced from 400 to MK has brought people, EFF has brought people. Hey, the rest there, hey, while our land, they don't go to the point we want. Discuss and finish about the issue of the land being restored. Not how, if the land must be restored or not. It's not the question. Is not the question that we want. The restoration is what we want. And we are not asking. And there's no investigation that can prove who lived in that land besides those people from that tribe coming, because we know which kingdom was where, which tribe was where. So let's restore that based on the truth. We declare ourselves as the sovereign and independent government like Orania, but the most senior one formed by traditional leaders, and we can order those people to account. And we can order them to do the right things as the elders. Failure to do that, they are in contravention of the same United Nations that is protecting them. Because it said that the United Nations all the indigenous tribes of South Africa and the rest of the world, their rights must be restored. What did South Africa do instead of oppressing the kingdoms? They were oppressed for 30 years. The agreement they had were null and void. The treaty agreement that they have with those whites in Orania, who calls themselves even today the elders of this land, Johan Rupert and the team of all those colonizers, who are owning that union building, by the way, is not owned by Parliament. They must stop lying. And ownership of the union building was a union of union building was a house of the Union of South Africa, was formed and built by the Union of South Africa, influenced by the kings as the time moves because of the dispute. Then in 1901, that building starting and finishing, it all happened because of the slavery of the black man. It would not be standing there if it was not because of the slavery of the black man. And very lucky I know that my grandfather, who was given birth by Daniel Thekiso, was working in that project as a slave. They are the people who were taken from Joburg after the World War to go and finish the dirty project. So the people of South Africa actually have that land, that claim over that property. It cannot be Parliament. Cyril must leave that house. That house belongs to the union. That will hold them accountable. Because there's no way that Cyril can operate with the seniority when there's traditional leaders who are actually he's supposed to be accounting to the committee of traditional leaders, not these recognized puppets by him. Look at what happened to BAKWENA ba Mare-A-Phogole. The country is fucked up because these organizations are doing everything in the mineral land to derail tribes from emerging. They're doing exactly what is in the treaty agreement. They're doing exactly what is agreed in the CODESA. And where is that CODESA resolution? 30 years. It can't be sealed for more than 30 years, any document. You can seal it for 15 years. After that, it becomes vulnerable. It can be made public, or it can be requested by anyone, because you must understand what government agreed about you.
Yeah.
Not the summary of what you see. The summary of what you see is the summary of what you see. There is a document that we, the people of South Africa, must ask the Chief Justice to release. If you didn't know who is holding that document, is the Chief Justice. He knows he's holding the document because it's the document that he's the one protecting the Constitution. So as immediately he enters into office, he has the constitutional powers to call for directives in a country to function, where more especially the people are not happy. Because we've done from scale of 1 to 10. The people who are voting in this country, who are giving a mandate to rule 65 plus million of South Africans, is 16 million people, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And it's not an accusation that I'm going to make. Statistics South Africa is playing a huge role to enable elections to take place. How? I am personally saying to them, they are deliberately keeping the population of South Africa below 60, 70 million, deliberately, because they want elections to correlate all the time. And look at how the 65 million of the population is calculated in their papers. They will always say 25 million, 20 to 25 million in between is children who are not eligible to vote. They've already killed 18 million out of the whole conversation. 18 million is out. Chunked it out. Then you remain with that little portion of 40 million that will juggle around. They will put rejected votes above a certain number to cover and close the unqualified number that didn't even visit their voting station, so that they can extend the ratio of people visited the voting station to close to 25 million. It has been happening from when up until now. Still happening. And not to say, by the way, I'm a former councillor, so politics, I'm from politics in my youth. I understand what they are doing. And politics are the reason that we are divided the way we are in this land of our forefathers. Politics are evil because they are led by evil people who are here to rip you off as kingdoms and tribes. And they'll make themselves your friends just for your minerals underneath, because all of us traditional leaders, we are stupid maybe. That's what these investors are taking us for. They want to bring a small bag so that you sign a document. Must refuse. The land of your forefathers doesn't worth a bag. And immediately when you touch it with an excavator, you are penetrating the nerve of the heart of your own ancestors. Because the land is attached to your ancestors. Because if you go to another land, when I'm saying the land is attached, by the way, to your ancestors, if you go to the land that was owned by Sekhukhune right now, Kekwa's Kuku, because the land is attached to the ancestors. That is why the land is allodial. No one can expropriate a land. No court can make a decision about the people who are living on the land. Because those courts that are sitting there are corporate courts, all of them. They enjoy no jurisdiction when it comes to the land, including the banks. Must understand that they are busy selling the land that doesn't belong to them. And even us as the people, we need to know that history is very important, that we fight our battles in the right way. When you find the Ngunis fighting, you don't ask a question. They are Abantu people. You must enter into the fight and ask when the fight is over. Why did we kill so many people? So we do not want a violent country. We want a strategic country that deals with the issues in accordance with, in terms of discussing, because no, this is something right and wrong, and then this is how we're solving it as the KOKOSI. You understand? And we are not only taking a decision among ourselves only, we still consult. We still consult, because we call the people and say, hey, there's a case that is going to sit. We're going to listen to the theft of 10 cows. It's a serious crime. You go to jail for 30 years. But in the restoratory system, we are going to take your cows and take a few things, because every man had a cow in this land before this colonization. You will look at the cows, our own indigenous cows that we did. I mean, the Nguni people have done a very beautiful meat cattle, because we were experienced. We knew what to do and when to do it and how to do it. It doesn't mean that when they take their technology and go, we've lost. We didn't lose. In fact, we are going to be safe. Our lifespan will be safe, will reverse back with 10 years so that we can die at the age of 80 at least, or 90 or going up.
Like we used to.
Like they used to our ancestors. Something that is very important and too crucial for many people not to understand. You cannot detach yourself from the land. You can vacate the land and move to another land. But that doesn't take your right away from there. Because you are not enjoying the sovereign rights when you get to that land. Because that land, and let me tell you, it's a work about mobile. Do you think we could live in such a huge land, as traditional as we are, before our forefathers and we didn't do anything? Because we are spiritually superly inclined as the tribe. And that is why we never involved ourselves in any negotiations of anything. Because all that we wanted was our own wealth, because we were already used to mine. In 1947, we were mining with the guy who was at the farm, helping our grandfathers. I forgot his name, is many years ago. I wasn't even there. They were mining diamonds. Before dispensation, when apartheid was too quiet. And the evidence of that they took diamonds from is even there on a written minutes book, when they took diamonds from their bank, Morafi, to go purchase another land that is rich with diamonds in Lichtenburg, and they bought it. And when they dispossessed us, this slept hard, they also dispossessed us our own other forefathers' land.
Hey, so it's all about the land, hey?
It's all about, you will never leave the land, because your identity as Africans is all about the land. And you need to understand the roots and the foundation that our forefathers enjoyed on this land. Because I can't speak about building a school right now. On whose land I'm going to build, and whose school is that? I can't talk about anything because my rights are taken away to speak freely. I can't even say Ntsiki, this is a piece of land in this mountain, be busy there. Work the land. Because the whole purpose here is that we want to work the land. But when they see the land arable for only mining, that's why they are prepared to even kill us with water and everything that they can get. You know, I remember one white guy who testified in some commission and say, in a court, and says his plan was to kill the people of Soweto with chemicals, Shoshanguve with chemicals. He's a chemical specialist, that gentleman. I'm not going to mention his name, but it's not important to me. Today, that person has never seen the blocks of a cell because he wasn't doing anything evil.
He works at some private hospital.
He wasn't doing anything evil at that time. For him to say that, he had to own saying that on the basis that they had to make you, black people, to be afraid and vote. That is why voter person is not arrested even today for the crimes dating back, where even written confessions is there. It is called the tactics that they are used to make sure that you conform and you confine. If you do not do this, it will be simple for me to wipe you. Go check election stats 1994. You'll see that majority of the people didn't vote. It was in a rush. Nothing has went right in a rush. Nothing. We were not consulted as the kingdoms. And very important, and too important, and many people do not know this, they must find the information is there. Traditional leaders have objected to the KOKOSI resolution in 1994, even the sitting in 1992, where my father was sitting in this committee that of traditional leaders in the northern province as well. They objected, they wrote a letter to the commission to say, commission, listen, we traditional leaders do not consent to this agreement of yours, or whatever that you are discussing there. That is why they had to use a certain political party that had the nation of the Zulu to think that the Zulus have actually consented to this resolution.
So lastly, before we let you go, I wanted to find out, because sometimes, you know, Africans like to fight amongst themselves. And when I was listening to you earlier on about Bakwena, it sounds as if even the Tswana, the tribes within that kingdom, Nabo Ingati.
Yes, and the fights are common. Traditional leaders fighting for their rightful heir. The son was young, the uncle took over, the uncle doesn't want to leave the throne, he's a member of the ANC now, he's protected by the MEC and all that, he can sign all these documents, fraudulent documents they want. So those traditional leaders are causing divisions. You know what, if you are not born, being a traditional leader is not about you born in the royal family. It's you being born to be the heir apparent to that throne. Because many tribes do not have this, they don't even understand this. When a traditional leader dies and there's no son the heir to take over the throne, it depends on the culture of that kingdom or that tribe. Or some tribes, they agree that women must take over, can take over, but other tribes, they do not agree. And it's not about that, it's because the women are holding the higher position in the tribe. As the queen mother, you are actually the mother of that nation. So the division that you see in kingdoms, as politicians are influencing it with money and other things, and mines and businesses, so that they can mine, open roads, build shops, because they've planned for your land. Did you know that in the middle of Soweto, there's a highway that actually, by law, there's a map of showing that here is the highway? Yes, because they're planning on the land that is not theirs. They planned on that land, not knowing that they would want to build a Soweto at the later stage in 1947, because Soweto is not that long. People must not say it's that, no, it's not that long. So it is a yesterday business. And then it was labor migrants who were there. And some tribal members of the Bakwena who are a lot in Soweto, like in Naledi, Orlando, you find a lot of them, because it was a village before they start building hostels and houses. It was still a village there. The Bakwena people were there. Barakwena, Barakwana. Then the words were played. But initial agreement of Verwoerd in 1912, as they were preparing themselves, was to say that they will rectify the name to Barakwena.
Interesting.
So that they twisted the word so that you do not trace the identity of the land to the tribe. When you search the history of Gauteng, it takes the history of civilization, the battles, the labor migration. They did not talk about pre-migration, pre-colonization. Mining started when in Gauteng, and what happened where in where. There was no Soweto in 1901. It was not there. The white people have planned to put Soweto after they mined the land. After they mined the land, they then put the people. That is why they put infrastructure, services, everything. That is why you see the houses that were built by apartheid are actually far better than the ones that, because they were building, they were doing infrastructure before they even put hostels and houses. They knew what they were doing, those people, when it comes to infrastructure development, when it comes to road networks. Some of their roads are still existing, while ANC roads were fixed more than 20 times.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that you need to see, that we are in the failed state. Majita bajile for 30 years, abavai. Bakaoze for 30 years, abavai. Now we are not interested as chiefs to become members of parliament. We don't care, we're not going there. Parliament will account in the union building in the close future, because we are making our claim. We want the union building to be restored as the chief's house of this land, and then Cyril to cut administration in Cape Town.
Thank you so much.
Those are the prospects. You note the way that it was being put in. You can't put a sitting president in the colonizer's land. And a battle, you know what is affecting me is that for so many years, Cape Townians speaking about independence of Cape Town, pulling out of South Africa. Parliament is there. Why is Parliament not planning to move and be in a neutral place like Gauteng, where everyone can fly from all provinces to one province? Because they know that if they can put Parliament in such an area, such as Gauteng, it will give them a problem in terms of coordinating some of these things. Meetings that they are having will start being exposed. Remember, here we are watching everything. Every corner you go, we know where is Ntsiki today, tomorrow, in a second, and in an hour. But it was nice, like, really having this discussion with you. But I strongly feel that there's, beside any other thing, there's more to talk about, not particularly the history of the tribe in this land, the Bakwena, how they suffered in this land. I'm referring to going back to profiling the laws of this land, so that education to our people can be something that is clear. So there's a website that we have created with my team. And believe you, my team has even white people who are strongly participating and working with me. They are slaves. Not every white person is a colonizer. Some were brought here to come and work and bring technical skills. Must they go? They can't. but they must not enjoy the allodial title. They can enjoy the crown title on the land, not the allodial title. And allodial title means that we are claiming also all the minerals back. So, ngifuna amakhosi man. Ngathi amakhosi bangangizwa sometimes when I speak. Ngeke, you'll never win South Africa if you still leave important things like minerals in the hands of the mines and the corporates. When you look at the mineral map, I'm teaching you something that you never know. Do you know that where you are living up to Potchefstroom, Klerksdorp, the Orkney, it's called the Witwatersrand. It's the Witwatersrand. Your Ranfontein, there are names that came, but on the original name on the map is Witwatersrand, your minerals. That refers to the minerals that are on the Witwatersrand belt.
Yeah.
So ownership of all those minerals belongs to a certain company. And we are busy fighting for a social grant, while minerals rights are belonging to Anglo or are belonging to, like Goldfield. Goldfield owns quite a few tailings, quite a few, because also tailings will have to end up getting there. People to understand the white mountains that they see. What powder did they use to cover? The soil they used to cover those things, and what is inside. Because the truth must come out. We are the engineers. We know what is happening there. We can break that mountain with a computer in a second and educate our people where to find the belly of gold. Because they can't stop Zamazamas. So education must go from us as the elders, teaching our own children how to wash gold, how to put it together, how to make a ring that you are wearing. But we can't achieve that goal because why? Because we are having a demonic government that is created to destabilize and derail our success as Black and all other nations.
Thank you so much, Khosi. Thank you for taking the time and the grace and for blessing us with your energy. And I'm sure we'll definitely call you again to break down some more lessons for us.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off? Your spirit knows that surely corner into it off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.